Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I was going live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the party. So excited to be with you all today. If you are here live, let me know you're here live. Give me a little hello in the comments so I know you're here live. Give me a yo in the comments if you're here on the replay, because I love my replay people as well. So great to see you guys here. Daniel Allen's in the house. Bro, I thought you had to work. What happened, man? I thought you weren't going to be here. Stephen Roberts is in the house. Welcome, Stephen. So good to see you here as well. I feel like maybe you're newer to our community, so excited you're here. Nicole says, yes, you did own that. You know, I am all about the dance, man. If you ever catch me on the streets, driving down the street, if you catch me at a stoplight, you will most likely either hear me singing at the top of my lungs like a Luther Vandross song or a Charlie Wilson song, or rapping a Pharoah Monch or a Mos Def song or a Drake song, or you'll see me dancing. I'm all about the performance. Daniel said, I am working. You putting in that work, boy. I know how it goes. Cassandra's in the house. Cassandra, so good to see you as well. And I'm really excited to dive into this topic today because it's really funny. I just finished doing a podcast interview where this exact topic came up, even though I didn't bring it up. Somebody else brought it up. Not just somebody random. The podcast interviewer brought it up. And so I'm extra excited now to be diving into this with all of you right now. So I'd love to get a sense, again, if you're here live, let me know. If you're here on the replay, let me know as well. What is your sense of being able to access joy kind of at any moment? Give me a 1 if you feel like you're pretty good at accessing joy whenever you want. Give me a 2 if sometimes that feels like it escapes you, like it's you kind of can get a glimpse of it, or it just feels completely like it's out of the realm of possibility based on whatever's going on in your life. So give me a 1 if the joy thing is pretty simple for you. Give me a 2 if it's something that's kind of a little more elusive sometimes. Just want to kind of gauge here. And while I'm waiting for you guys to put that stuff in there, and again, replay people as well, you know, my experience of joy my entire life is there's a misconception that because I'm the playful prosperity guy and I'm high energy and I'm funny and whatever else, that it means that that's just my natural state. And anybody who's been here for long enough knows, and anybody who's been in any of my programs or has been coached by me or that we've had deeper conversations or heard me on podcasts, know that it's not my default state to be in a place of joy and play. I've always been the performer. I've always been the one that kind of made people laugh and jokes and things like that. And a lot of that came from wounding, and it came from me needing to feel like I had some kind of value to provide to make myself feel enough, to make myself feel lovable. And luckily over time with the coaching and the therapy and the things I've done to heal those things, now that shows up much less. Anybody who's a performer or does things to entertain people, they always have some level of ego that makes them feel more enough or more lovable by doing it. So I'm not saying that that's gone. And anybody says they don't have that, they're lying to you. So I won't say it's gone, but what I will say is that it doesn't run the show anymore. I'm not driven by that need to be seen and to perform. I do it much more because I just love to do it. It makes me feel good, and I know that it makes other people feel good, and that feels good to feel good. But it's not my default state. I am somebody who, left to my own devices, take things very seriously, and joy is not something that I'm just naturally able to tap into whenever I wanted to. And so part of my journey of all the work that I've done on myself and the work that I've done with my clients is to see how can I be in the experience of joy more often. And that starts with one thing that I'm going to talk about in a second, and then it goes into the practice. So just want to see what you guys are saying here. Cassandra and Stephen both say 1. Awesome. So you guys are super adept at just being able to tap into joy whenever you want. Now I'd love to know, give me a 3 in the comments if you feel like you're able to, you know how to get your clients to do that as well, or give me a 4 in the comments if you feel like, well, that can be a little dicier sometimes. I'd love to know from you, Cassandra and Stephen, how is it that for you access joy? No problem, full stop, never an issue, no matter what's going on. You're absolutely in it. You're joyful. You're happy. You have all those things. I'd love to know, because it's always great to share and collaborate here on what's working best for everybody. I would never say my way is the only way. It's just the way that I know works for me. So again, this has been a quest for me of how do I experience this joy more often. Now, where does that start? First of all, it's an understanding that there are different levels or different ways to experience joy. The definition of joy for a lot of people, for most people, is, I think for most people, I guess I shouldn't say that, I don't know what it is for most people, but what I think it is for most people is that it's this big outward expression of happiness. It's this big outward expression of energy. It's this big, it's big. It has a property of bigness to it. When we are joyful, people can see it. Cassandra says puppies. Yeah, that's great. I don't know if you always have access to puppies, but if you do, I need to hang out with you more often. But it's just it's this big boisterous thing. And so the first thing for me that I really had to do for myself was to start understanding there's a different definition of joy that I want to look at. And when I redefine joy as something that can be a more quiet contented joy. That's something that's really, really helpful for me. It's much, much more easy to access for me and gives me a lot of the same outcome that I'm looking for when I stop making joy be this huge thing, this huge firework. And for my clients as well, that they have to somehow be this person that's like, toxic positivity, like, oh my God, everything's great in my life all the time. I got in a car accident. That's awesome. I fucking hated that car anyways. That's a spastic example. But to me, that is joy that is, number one, can be performative. Number two, can mask and have you be distracted from looking at what's really going on in your experience. And number three, just isn't really something that is sustainable constantly, at least not in my perspective, in my experience. What is much more sustainable in my experience is our ability to have this more peaceful, contented joy. The joy of knowing that you cooked a great meal for your family and they enjoyed it. The joy of watching your son or your daughter put together a Lego set on the floor, and you're just watching with this joy. It's this quiet, contented, peaceful joy. And that's what I want to talk about today, is how do we get into that place more often? And how do we help our clients to get in that place more often as well? And so what this live is going to be focused on is both pointing at how we do that for ourselves and then the practical ways we can walk somebody else through doing that. So I'd love to know, is that something that would be helpful for you to know, not just for yourself, but to be able to guide your clients through that as well? Give me a yep in the comments if you feel like that will be helpful for you. And let me see what you all are saying here real quick. Kelly says, easier for me to get them to joy than myself. That's interesting. That's really, really cool. Well, this will be helpful for you as well. I love that you shared that. Cassandra says, yes, toxic positivity is so much more prevalent now with social media and transparent management theory. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And there are people that I work with a bunch of different companies and do stuff. And it's even being seen a lot in those companies where people don't feel like it's safe for them to not have a great day. That everybody has to be up and happy and that stuff all the time. And I think that that's setting up a very dangerous way of being for people in the world. Let's see. Stephen says, I agree, Jason. I'm very happy if I'm in a peaceful, contented state. Love that. So happy to hear that, Stephen. So Daniel says, yep. Cassandra says, yep. Awesome. All right. So let's dive into this. So here's what I want to share with you. Here's what I'm going to point to help you see how this works for yourself. And again, you can use this. This is a metaphor that I came up with. Again, a lot of the things I come up with metaphor-wise are just things that come to me a lot of times in meditation, or they come to me in an actual coaching conversation. A lot of them come just from coaching people. This particular one came to me in a meditation, and it really smacked me. I was in a funk one day. And I went and sat for a meditation. I typically meditate twice a day. I was in my second meditation of the day. And I just felt like I was in this funk. And this insight hit me that for me was very powerful. And what I always want to do, and this is something that was just reflected to me in the podcast interview I was just on, is I always want to make this as practical as possible. There's a lot of stuff I study that I love that's very ethereal, esoteric. It's very hard to grab onto. And that's because sometimes it's not necessarily meant to be something to grab onto. Sometimes the act of trying to grab onto something separates us from seeing the truth of it alone. But I want to float somewhere in the middle there. And I want to notice that it's a truth that I don't have to do anything to get to. And I also want to have some practical things to help me to open my awareness so that I can see this thing that I'm considering truth in this perspective. So the thing that came up to me in meditation was this. Things love when they're being used for the thing they're meant to be used for. Things that have utility are happiest when they are being expressed through that utility. So for example, if you could talk to a hammer and a hammer could talk back, I mean, you could talk to a hammer whenever you want to. We can all talk to hammers. But if you were to talk to a hammer and it talked back to you, it would probably tell you that it's happiest when it was nailing things into a wall or when it was putting together furniture. Because a hammer knows that its utility is to do that, is to hammer things into the wall. Hammers aren't happy probably laying in your tool shed. Hammers aren't happy probably being used to hurt somebody. Hammers aren't happy being on the shelf in packaging at a Home Depot waiting to be picked up and taken home. Hammers are happiest when they are in the process of being used for the purpose for which they are meant to be used. Now, why does this matter at all? Because what came up to me in my awareness was that awareness right? Awareness. And this, and I'm not going to go too deep into this right now, but if you look at the non-dual perspective, the Vedantic perspective, you can look at Buddhist perspectives, whatever you want to look at, a lot of teachings will try to help you understand that depersonalization is the key to peace and joy and happiness. Depersonalization. Not taking things personal, but also depersonalization in so much as not confusing who I really am at my core with some of the experiences that I see out in the world. Not confusing who I am at my core with the thoughts in my head, or the emotions that I'm feeling, or the stories that I have, or the history that I've been through. Not associating with those things, my body, my sensations, not associating with those things, depersonalizing, saying, I am not those things. I'm sure all of you here have heard that. But the reason this is important to notice is because awareness, when you really truly can drop into a place of awareness where you are literally just witnessing what's going on in the world, okay? Whether it's your world or the world at large, if you're somebody who's very affected by the news and by media and by all the, the big C stuff and the big V stuff and all that stuff, whatever that is for you, or it's just your own stuff. This client didn't sign up to work with me when I thought they did. I should be making more money. Why isn't this happening faster? I can't believe my spouse said that to me. Whatever the things are that take you out of joy because you confuse who you are with these things that are going out in the world. And we all do it. The goal here is not to get to a place, at least for me, where I never confuse myself with what's going on in the world. I think it would take so much work to be so present and conscious in that. The Buddhists are able to do that because the Buddhists have a very simple life that doesn't have the outside influences of the world showing up in their face every day. We all have the outside influences of the world that do inform our experience of life. So awareness essentially has this perfect experience of life. When I can truly unhook from my thoughts and not take myself too seriously and not confuse who I am with these thoughts that are in my head, then awareness is getting to do exactly what it wants to do. Just like the hammer nailing stuff in the wall, all awareness wants to do is have something to be aware of. All that awareness wants to do is to have something to witness. And so when I'm in this place of awareness and I see all of these stories, right? I see the not enough story. I see the I should be making more money story. I see that this isn't happening fast enough story. I see the I'm afraid to do this in my business. I'm afraid to hire a coach. I'm afraid to tell my spouse this thing. I'm afraid to have this difficult conversation with my kid. All of those things that are out there that awareness gets to witness, awareness loves it. Awareness can't get enough of that. And so when I'm in meditation, and it doesn't have to be a full-blown meditation when you're sitting there, like as a matter of fact, of course, because I was going to talk about this today, I got tested with this maybe 3 hours ago with something that came into my awareness. And in that moment, I was able to take a step back, be in awareness and say, awareness, what do you think about what's going on right now? This thing going on in my head, I saw this thing online and it triggered something in me. And I said, awareness, what do you think about this? And awareness says, man, I'm just so happy that I get something to be aware of. This is so cool. Look at all this amazing material that you're giving me just to witness, right? And when I'm really in that spot, I do feel a sense of joy. I can feel a sense of that peaceful, contented joy. So that is the way that I know that joy can be experienced in any moment. Again, it doesn't mean boisterous over the top joy where everything is perfect and you're like shouting and exclaiming your happiness to the heavens. But that peaceful, contented joy we're talking about, when I notice that awareness loves to be used for what it's meant to be used for, which is to be aware of things, then everything that's in my experience, every trigger, every emotion, every thought, every whatever, is just material for awareness. And when I ask awareness, or I decide just to look through the lens of awareness, and I say, how do I experience all these things out here as awareness? Then as awareness, I go, this is pretty fucking cool. This is great. I love having something like this to look at. So that's the first part of this. I'm going to talk about how to do this with your client in a second, but I want to check in and see how that's resonating with all of you. Is this resonating with you? Give me a hell yes if it is. If not, let me know and we can dive a little deeper, but I'd love to know if you really get what I'm saying here, that resting in awareness and allowing awareness to do its thing, just like we would allow a hammer to do its thing and what makes it happiest, letting awareness do what makes it happiest, which is being aware of what's going on in your current experience, is the easiest, simplest way to experience joy in any given moment. I just shared this on one of our competition-proof business immersion calls, which if you're a part of that program, we have a monthly live group coaching call. And I was coaching somebody through this and shared this thing. And it was massively impactful for them because just noticing this is such a powerful thing. Now, now we go into the next part of this. The next part of this is how do we do this with clients? Because clients may not be in the space yet where they're ready to fully unhook from their thoughts and from their emotions. It can be very, very difficult, especially when you're in it. And even for me sometimes, it can be very difficult when you're in it to notice that there's anything but the thought, to notice there's anything but the emotion, to notice there's anything but the sensation in the body. And so what can we do with them to help ease them in, to help take them step by step into what it is that's going to be most effective for them, or one of the effective ways, I won't say most effective, one of the effective ways for them to experience more joy. And I'm going to make this really, really simple for you. What we want to do is, for clients, we want to guide them and walk them through and just be with them as we have them break down their experience of whatever the stress is that's going on in their life. Let's say they bring some stressful issue, something with their partner, something with their business, something with their health, something whatever. To have them break down their experience of that stress into different parts and then ask each part what it has to say, okay? To break down their experience of stress into different parts and have them ask themselves, what does that part of them have to say? So in other words, they bring in the stressful thing, and the stressful thing is, I'm stressed out because I'm not making as much money in my business as I'd like to, right? Let's just say that's one that comes up. And even if you're not a business coach, you can still coach people on this because it's not about they're not asking you for business strategy in that moment. They're trying to get you, without them knowing this, they're trying to get you to help them relate differently to the problem so that it's no longer problematic. That's what we all do as coaches, right? I say this all the time, that we're all relationship coaches because we're helping people change their relationship to their experience of life. So they come to you with this stressful thing, I'm not making enough money in my business. I want to slow them down and say, cool, let's explore that if you're open. I'll ask for permission. Are you open to exploring that? Are you open to kind of looking at the truth of that? And they say, sure. You go, cool. So I'd love to know, you have this thought, or you have this stressful thing going on that you're not making enough money in your business. What does your mind say about that? And they probably will think about it because that's what the mind does. And the mind loves doing what it's meant to be doing too. The mind is meant to be sped up and thinking all the time. That's what it's meant to be used for. Awareness is the thing that's meant to be chilled and joyful and peaceful. So you ask them that, and their response to that may be, well, the mind says, this is screwed up. I'm so pissed off. I can't believe this is happening. Why don't I know the answer to the problem? Why can't I figure this out? I thought I was so smart. Great, amazing. Like really just let them go to town and tell you what is it that the mind says. Then I want to transition to the next part. Great. What does the body say about this? What does the body say about this experience that you don't think you're making enough money? Or let's not even say you think. You don't think. You're not making enough money in your business. What does your body say about that? And depending the level of which they're able to tap in, I was disassociated from my body for so long that even just feeling my feet on the ground was a huge thing. And I had to do a lot of work to be able to actually feel energy and direct energy to different parts of my body. And so this may not be super comfortable for somebody, but just stick with them, is to say, what does the body say about that, right? What does the body say? And does the body say I'm hot? Does the body say I'm constricted? Does the body say I'm tense? Does the body say I'm numb? Right? For people that are dissociating from their body, they think that feeling nothing is a bad thing. Feeling nothing is still a feeling. The numbness is a thing, right? So what does the body say? So let them tell you that. What does the mind say? What does the body say? And then you go to the third one. What does awareness say? What does awareness say? And you may want to give them some kind of visual for this if you haven't really talked about the power of awareness and the difference between awareness and the actual experience of life. And if you haven't explained to them that awareness is like the ocean, and our thoughts and our judgments and our sensations in our body are like the waves in the ocean. The waves can't exist without the ocean, but nobody would ever say the waves are the ocean, right? The waves are a part of the ocean. They show up in the ocean, but nobody would mistake the two for each other. And the presence of the waves in the ocean don't affect the ocean at all. The ocean can't be damaged by waves. The ocean isn't judged by waves. The ocean doesn't resent waves. They're just waves. That's what they are. So assuming there's some level of understanding there with awareness, you may even ask them, if you literally put on a pair of glasses, right? Or you had, and this is a visualization I've had, this may be really weird for some people. Imagine you put a little person on your head, and I don't mean an actual little human, but like a little, like almost like a little, like a stuffed animal, but that's come to life, like an inanimate object that's come to life. and he's like sitting on your head, and he's using your hair as like stirrups to make sure he stays on top of your head. And you ask that little thing up there, you say, what do you have to say about all this? And that little thing on your head, or if you can step into awareness, you look at that and you say, it says that I should be able to figure this out. So, okay, cool. That sounds like something the mind would say. But what does awareness have to say about that? Okay, awareness says, I really want this feeling to go away. And I say, okay, that sounds like something the body or the mind might say, but I'm not sure awareness would say that. What does awareness have to say about this? And stick with them and just be patient and guide them in whatever way you can as a coach, until they finally get to the point where they realize the only thing awareness can do is be aware. And the only thing that awareness will have to say about this in different language is, this is happening. This is a thought. This is a feeling. I'm noticing it. I'm aware of it. Thanks for the input. Thanks for giving me something to be aware of. And the more we can do that, the beautiful thing about that is that you're still honoring the experience they're having, that the mind and the body are involved in this process, right? Because sometimes if we try to tell people, you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, you're not your body, you're just awareness, then they're like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. But if you say, you know what, I'm going to honor the experience. You're all those things. You're your body, you're your mind, and your awareness. Can we agree on that? Can you agree that you sometimes feel like your mind? They go, yep. Can you agree sometimes you feel like your body is taking over? Yep. Do you notice that there's something inside you that's noticing the feeling, that's noticing the thought, that's noticing the air in the room, that's noticing your hunger? That's like, is there something noticing that? They go, yep, I get that too. Cool. So we're honoring the experience that the mind and the body are having. We're just loosening the grip on those experiences as being the ultimate truth, right? We're zooming out on our understanding. We're depersonalizing. And why that's so important is because it shows them that at least some part of them doesn't think it's as serious as the other parts, right? Some part of them. The body thinks it's serious. The mind thinks it's serious. Awareness doesn't think it's that serious. And if they get this sliver of openness, if they get this pause, this moment of truth where they can really see what's going on, it gets them further away from suffering and closer to this contented peace and joy that we were talking about earlier. Okay? So I'd love to know from you, is this making sense? Just give me a little love in the comments here if this is making sense for you. And if it's not, say, I have no idea what you're talking about. That's totally cool too. But I really want you to help your clients have the experience of honoring the fact that their mind has something to say and their body has something to say. But you know what? Awareness may have something to say too. And if we can help them see that at least one part of them doesn't think this is as big of a deal as the other parts, then maybe it gives us a little bit of pause to say, well, what is it that awareness is seeing that the other parts of me are not seeing? And when you dive deep into that, awareness will always just see that it's happy being aware. And when you really notice that, you take that step back, you disconnect from the thoughts and the emotions and the feelings, you say, okay, this feels a little better. This feels a little peaceful. I can experience a little bit of joy, a little bit contented, peaceful joy. So that's my message for you today. Manuel says, yes, amazing. So happy that it resonates with you. If you're here on the replay as well, please let me know if this resonated. I really hope it did. And that is my transmission for you today. So practice this for yourself to notice that joy doesn't have to be this big over the top thing. It can be this peaceful, contented thing, and help your clients to break down the parts of who they are and check in with each of those parts to see what's actually going on. And doing that with them will help them get to peace and joy so much more quickly. Sending you guys so much love. Thank you so much for being a part of this community, and thank you for being here on the live. And I will see you guys very soon. Peace.